Last week on Expedition Texas, we took off on our Highway 80 adventure, traveling the historic highway across the state of Texas. This week, the adventure continues.
Texas is full of lost history, from lost cemeteries to abandoned buildings, from the infamous to the obscure.
Not many people know this building's out here.
Hitch a ride and travel across the Lone Star State, looking for hints of Texas' colorful past.
This is the Alamo compound.
Our lost history. This is Expedition Texas, and we're gonna find it.
Our Highway 80 adventure started with a part of the highway that's still pretty easy to travel because it's still marked and still considered a major highway through East Texas. But that all changes when you get to Dallas. Highway 80 becomes I-30 here, but that hasn't always been the case. The original path of Highway 80 once went all the way from Tybee Island, Georgia to San Diego, California. So the original road still exists in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and with a little research, we're gonna find it. As we make an effort to try to follow the old decommissioned part of the highway, we stumble across Grove Hill Memorial Park Cemetery. Once you get into Dallas, Highway 80 turns into Interstate 30. And then you have to take a little exit onto Samuel Boulevard to still be on the original roadbed for Highway 80. And as soon as I exited, I saw the Grove Cemetery, and I knew that I had to stop off here and see some childhood heroes of mine and pay my respects. You don't have to be a professional wrestling fan to have heard of the Von Erichs. During the 80s, they ruled Texas wrestling from the famous Sportatorium in Dallas. Through a series of tragedies, though, the young wrestlers died much too young. David Von Erich died of natural causes while in Japan. Mike, Chris, and Carrie all took their own lives. They, along with their father Fritz, are buried at Grove Hill Memorial Park. Now out here, if you know where to look, are the graves of all the Von Erich brothers that have passed away, including Carrie, David, Chris, Mike, and their father Fritz Von Erich are all out here. Well, our trip down historic Highway 80 continues today because we are now going to set out on an interesting leg of our trip where the old alignment of Highway 80 becomes harder to find. Our first episode on Highway 80, we were touring some of the lost history along Highway 80, highlighting some things there. Now, the highway itself becomes lost history as we have to try to find the old roadbed of Highway 80 because it's inactive after Dallas-Fort Worth. So we have to get on and find where some of the old roadbeds lead. We exited off on Samuel last time and kind of lost our way trying to find Highway 80. Picking up today in Fort Worth, and we're going to head west today and find the original Highway 80 on Expedition Texas. We're going to find it. Coming up next on Expedition Texas, we'll revisit some locations from previous expeditions along Highway 80, plus show you some never-before-seen footage from lost episodes. We're traveling down Highway 80. Last week we started our trip on the active highway and followed it until it ended in Dallas. This week we're looking for the original path of Highway 80 through Dallas-Fort Worth and beyond, after it was gradually decommissioned in favor of the interstate highway system starting in the 1960s. Since the highway opened in 1926, many historic milestones have taken place along the highway. Back in Season 2, we explored a couple of stops linked to the outlaw gang of Bonnie and Clyde. Hi, are you Jim Gatewood?
Yes, sir.
How are you? Bob Malden.
Hi, Bob.
So we're here at the entrance of the Arlington Baptist College, which used to be Tropical Casino.
That's right, the most opulent casino in the Northern Hemisphere. And inside this guardhouse here, there's a little peg stands up about like a golf tee. And if the law came up, the guard here would simply step on that peg. This makes the lights flash in the casino. The dice tables turn over and our pool tables. The roulette wheels fold back into the wall. and there's pool cues there. And the patrons go out the casino up through the escape tunnel to a patio called the Tea Garden. Hymn books are passed out, and when the law gets there, they're all sitting there singing Rock of Ages. Hi, Vicki.
Hello.
This is Bob Mullen.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
How are you? Nice to meet you. So this is the home of the Top of the Hill Casino at one time, huh?
Right. Today it's known as Vegas before Vegas.
Vegas before Vegas. I like that. So where are we headed first?
Okay, we're in what used to be the cottage.
Okay.
This cottage right here, and today it's the school's administration building.
Okay.
We're going to go down a flight of stairs, just like you went down a flight of stairs after you came into the cottage, where there was a 6,000 square foot basement. This 6,000 square foot basement had a casino and a big ballroom to accommodate the big name bands of the day. And we're going right through here and down the stairs, and we'll be where the old casino used to be.
All right.
An 84-year-old gangster, Jack Poe, told us about another tunnel that went from here to the horse barn, and since this is the original casino walls, our maintenance men started drilling around here trying to find the entrance, and this was different. Decided to get behind it and dig it out, and then unearthed a room.
Wow. Now, can I go in there?
Sure.
Let's go. So I went down in there, and sure enough, it looks like a tunnel that goes off under the ground, under the cafeteria area there at the college now, but it hasn't all been excavated yet, so we saw as much as we could there, but that wasn't the secret escape tunnel. That was on the other side of the building, and she took us to see that next. That was cool.
Sure is. This is the back of our kitchen, and the escape tunnel is back here.
Okay.
So follow me.
Are these walls original casino walls?
They are.
Okay. Oh, wow. Huh.
Come in.
And where would they go from here? I don't see.
Right.
Oh,
Right
there's
here.
the tunnel.
Here's our escape tunnel.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And if we go through this, can we actually come out the other side?
Is it open now?
Yes.
I'm ready to escape.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we're gonna escape, all right?
All right.
Okay, this is the escape tunnel. The law was coming. This would have been the way out. Now, you see the floor here is actually up a little bit higher, but back in the day they say that this would have been some steps, or else would have been more on the level of where the casino was. So let's just head out and escape here. Wow, I see why they call it Top of the Hill. Now, is this tea garden area pretty much in the original condition it was whenever they were here, or what's changed that you know of?
This is about the same as it was.
The unique thing about our story here is that our founder, J. Frank Norris, fought this place and tried to shut it down. And he conducted his own raid out here in 1933, several in the late 40s. But the raid in 1947 kind of did Fred Browning in. People were afraid to come back, and the reason why they were afraid to come back is men like our founder and other ministers were putting pressure on Tarrant County to clean it up. So Dr. Norris made that prediction that we would own the place. He died in 1952, and our school purchased the property in 1956.
After seeing the escape tunnels and the secret room that was there and learning a whole lot about the history and seeing the tea garden and the terrace, it was time to head on to the Arlington Steakhouse. This is Kelly Abbott with the Arlington Steakhouse and another casino here that Jim Gatewood brought us to. This casino was upstairs when this downstairs was actually a restaurant back in the day, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you said there's a secret staircase that
Yes,
goes
there's a
upstairs.
secret staircase up here. We used to have gambling upstairs and a speakeasy as well, where they served alcohol.
Really?
With the windows overlooking the parking lot, so they could
Awesome.
see if the police were coming.
Awesome. Well, let's check it out.
And this is the secret stairwell. And this is the old poker room and speakeasy. With
Really?
the windows overlooking all of the parking lots.
The windows were overlooking the parking lots in case the law showed up.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, this one out front was right there over the main road.
Absolutely. And they used to have a lookout, like someone that let people in the store right here, and watch the parking lot from that angle as well.
Really?
So
And you could only get in this room.
you could
if
only
were-
get in this room if you were a player or they knew who you were. They said Bonnie and Clyde used to come up here. Frank Sinatra, when he was in town, used to come here as well.
Wow.
And all the old gamblers.
Well, thank you for showing us
You're
around. This
very
is really
welcome.
cool. It's neat that it's still in operation
Right,
too
it is.
downstairs.
We've been here since
Well, downstairs
1971.
is still in operation. This part, obviously.
No.
We're continuing our Highway 80 adventure through Texas. After looking back on some previous expeditions along the original roadway, it's time to move along to Fort Worth. It seems like everywhere we go along Highway 80, there's always train tracks nearby. Now we're on an old section of Highway 80, which is now called Lancaster Avenue, also known as 180, and we're coming into Fort Worth. And if you follow Lancaster Avenue long enough, you're going to pass by Will Rogers Coliseum, where it kind of ties into where we ended up the last week episode with the Von Erichs, who used to come out here and wrestle all the time at this facility. Along Highway 80, motels were a big thing, mainly because of their convenience, which means they were a big hit with traveling salesmen, or as they were commonly referred to, drummers, like here at the Drummer Inn. After Fort Worth, the old Highway 80 continues, now as 180, into Weatherford, Texas, where we were surprised to find a landmark right there along the highway. Old malt shop here on the side. Wait, this place is still open. We gotta go there. So we're going down Highway 80 and I see a malt shop on the side of the road. Now I thought, hey, there's a good piece of lost history, but this isn't lost, it's still open. Let me introduce you to the owner. His name's Gary. Hi, Gary, how are you?
Just fine. How are you, Bob?
Well, what a cool place you have here.
Well, thank you.
The malt shop. How far back does this place go?
To 1958.
1958.
The summer of 1958, it opened its doors and has stayed that way ever since.
I can just picture all that Detroit steel and tail fins and sock hop and all the whole 9 yards out here in front of this malt shop. And this very building, the structure we're under right now, all dates back to 1958?
It does.
And so, Gary, tell me, what all is it that you guys do here?
We have a pretty good variety of what many people call fast food.
Yeah.
But we wanted a little better definition than that because we want it fixed just right.
Yeah.
And if it takes a little longer to fix just right, we'll take that.
Right.
And
now, is this place, was this ever like a drive-in where there would be like car hops, or was it always pull-up service?
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned that because a number of people had asked, have there ever been car hops? There's a door right behind me that would be indicated that there were car hops coming in and out of there, but never has.
Really?
Never has been.
It's always been pull-up service, and I guess all these picnic tables out under here are where folks would come eat, right?
That's correct.
Now, Gary, this is a pretty old picnic table we're sitting at. I could tell that by the structure, but on top of it, there are all these names, some of them written in Sharpie, which I'm sure are the newer names, but there are some that are etched in here. This thing, they've almost etched through this thing. There's so many names and initials and ET, Hearts, LH. I mean, is this the original?
It is the original. It has been painted over several years at a time, and then it gets to look like this, and we restructure it.
Yeah. Wow. This is, I mean, there are names carved in it too, but also written on it. And this right here, this kind of reminds me of something like, I don't know, Willie Nelson's guitar. You kind of want to shellac over it and keep it.
And we have.
A lot of people have been through here, and people now who are probably a lot older had come here when they were younger and did this.
And some have actually found their scroll in that.
Really?
When they came back here.
What should I try here? What's the best thing to try?
Our signature series is hamburgers.
Oh yeah. Hey, who's this?
People. Well, he just happens to be our store manager.
Hi.
And his name is Steve Perez.
I'm going to open this up so we can see Steve a little better. So, Steve, how long have you been here?
15 years.
15 years. And I guess you've seen a lot of folks come and go, but this place has always been the same, right?
Yes, sir.
I know back in the 50s it was a place where the teenagers would come and hang out, on Saturday night. Is this still that kind of place? Do they still do that?
It is.
Really?
It is.
That's great.
And I was surprised as well because I didn't think that would carry through, but it has.
Yeah. So the malt shop here along what used to be Highway 80.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
And of course, since we were there anyway and it was getting to be lunchtime, we decided to try some malt shop burgers at the old etched picnic table under the metal awning of the iconic 50s structure. Having been in Weatherford his entire life with a business sitting right on Old Highway 80, I knew that Gary would have more information about the history of the highway. You've been here in Weatherford your entire life, right?
I have.
So we're traveling down Highway 80 trying to learn a little bit about the history, and you were right here on this road when it was Highway 80 before it was decommissioned. What was that like when your main two-lane highway was bypassed in 1969?
Well, we felt a little beaten about that, but we know that time has to go on, and
number 2, your order's ready. Number 2.
Automobiles grow more and more, and so it's just a necessity that has to happen.
Now, heading out of Weatherford to the west, we have a pretty major choice to make. Either we go on the old alignment of Highway 80, which was pre-1939, or we stay where we are and go into Mineral Wells. Well, there's a reason we want to go into Mineral Wells, and that's to check up on the Baker Hotel. We're wrapping up the second leg of our Highway 80 adventure. Previously, we had traveled the active portion of the highway through East Texas into Dallas, where the highway now officially ends and becomes I-30. But we didn't stop there. We continued following the now decommissioned portion of the highway as it becomes various city streets and even Highway 180 as you leave Fort Worth. We stopped in Weatherford, Texas to visit a 1950s malt shop that's still in operation. And our next stop is the county courthouse, which oddly enough sits right in the middle of the highway. Alright, we're heading over the bridge here on what used to be Highway 80 in Weatherford, and ahead I see the courthouse in the middle of the road. I don't know if they built the courthouse and rerouted the road, or if the courthouse was here first, or what happened, but there it is, the courthouse right in the middle of Highway 80, or what used to be Highway 80 in Weatherford, Texas. The Parker County Courthouse in Weatherford was designed by architect W.C. Dodson in a style similar to his other courthouses in Hill, Hood, and Lampasas counties. The town square was positioned at the intersection of two primary roads approaching town, one of them being Highway 80, which is now 180. This puts Weatherford Square right in the middle of the roads as you approach from all four directions. Now, heading out of Weatherford to the west, we have a pretty major choice to make. Either we go on the old alignment of Highway 80, which was pre-1939, or we stay where we are and go into Mineral Wells. Well, there's a reason we want to go into Mineral Wells, and that's to check up on an expedition we went to nearly 2 years ago, the Baker Hotel. While we're driving, I want to let you take a look at that Baker Hotel expedition, and we'll take one last stop by there to wrap up our Highway 80 tour.
Through this door, we're again on the top floor of guest rooms.
Okay.
And this, on the west wing of the top floor of guest rooms, is Mr. Baker's personal suite, known as the Baker Suite. And very large suite, and you notice a very nice front door. Yeah. He had a den or a study.
Wow, I love the doors.
He also evidently knew how to live
yes.
and have a good time. And evidence of that is found in here. Actually, there's evidence of that found a few floors down in his mistress suite.
Mistress suite?
He was a married man, but he actually somehow got away with having his mistress live in the hotel several floors down below him. She actually ended up jumping off of the building and committing suicide.
This building?
This building. Distraught over the fact that she couldn't have him to herself.
Wow.
Her ghost supposedly still wanders the floor, the seventh floor.
That's why people come here and look at her ghost.
So, he also, obviously, the building was completed in 1929.
Yes.
It was also the age of Prohibition.
Oh.
This is his pantry.
Check this out.
He had a little secret passage where he kept his private stash. course, that would come closed, and you'd never know that was there.
I know a guy who still has a secret pantry so his wife won't find it.
Earl Baker ran a hotel for many of his successful years.
Okay.
And when he retired at the age of 70, he passed it on to a group of citizens in Mineral Wells. But he did come back on occasion, and when he did, he'd stay here in the Baker Suite.
Okay.
He was found dead in the Baker Suite, and
Really?
rumor has it that he was found dead right here in front of the fireplace.
Really?
Right about where you're standing now.
Oh.
I don't accept that.
Well, it looks like the Baker Hotel is still boarded up, but not to fear. Chad Patton, Laird Fairchild, they're still working on trying to get the funding together to restore the Baker, but there it sits across the newer section of Highway 80, which was built after 1939, and here it is in Mineral Wells, Texas, the old Baker Hotel. We're going to rejoin the old alignment of Highway 80 now and continue on down the road to discover more lost history along the historic highway. The original path of this once cross-country roadway still exists, and on Expedition Texas, we're going to find it.